Breathe in, breathe out, die. This simple mantra exploded inside Jet Black's mind like a living entity as it crawled around, searching for something hidden, a memory. The words were spoken with such clarity and persuasion by one believing they had dominion that Jet almost obeyed. To his credit, Jet squeezed his eyes shut and attempted to stop the assault. The pain was unbearable, and he was stunned at the power that was unleashed at his consciousness. He could do nothing but slow the speed of the attack as he dangled precariously 200 feet above a canyon floor. The malicious words echoed around the crevices of his thoughts, as if searching for a hidden vault. After what seemed like hours, but mere seconds, Jet realized that the words held a deeper meaning. He felt the elation of the being besieging him as the mantra closed in on its mark. A moment of déjà vu struck, as a hidden memory was uncovered when Jet had heard this same mantra not 4 years ago, the day his home was destroyed. The words inside his head became frenzied, and ultimately, they cornered a second memory. Like claws on a raccoon, the hidden thought was bombarded. It withstood the onslaught for a short time, but soon the doors opened and the flashbacks spilled out. Jet saw himself standing at the base of his stairs in his childhood home on the day that everything had changed. For the first time since that day, he remembered precisely what had happened. Standing there, he'd taken his final breath, knowing that he was going to die. It was an intimate moment, and somehow, it had been erased. The entity attacking him was also privy to this memory. Together they watched as shards of wood darted at Jet's chest as the house around him began to crumble. Jet couldn't see how he was going to survive, but then he did. The entity infiltrating him did not anticipate what it saw either, and it didn't take long for Jet to understand why. Something, or someone, had created a barrier in Jet's mind, preventing him from his own memory and the understanding of how he'd survived the destruction of his hometown. Jet had lived the last few years blissfully unaware of how close he'd come to his own death, and more importantly, what it had taken to survive. His memories weren't the only thing concealed, but the 3 gifts that had allowed him to escape. Intuition told Jet that the entity was not pleased with what it was seeing. More than that, it was a little fearful. Jet knew that it would strike, and he braced for a deeper pain. It never came. Something that could only be described as a failsafe protected Jet, and it expelled the entity from his mind. Jet hung, practically upside down, as he tried to catch his breath. "Bro, you too scared to move?" A male voice asked from what seemed like a dozen miles away. Jet barely registered the question, and it took another few seconds to realize that he was still on the verge of a cliff, and it was his turn to rappel down. Jet opened his eyes and blanched as he stared at the crevice below him. His eyes began to blur, and his body shook. It was a sheer drop to the ground. The only thing holding him up was his climbing ropes. As he pulled himself into the correct position, the voice of Jaco, one of his closest friends, entered his mind from less than half an hour ago. "It'll be safe! Any idiot could do it!" Well, who's the idiot now? Jet thought to himself, as he reached out and patted the rock wall, trying to figure out if this could possibly be a dream.